All right, everybody, welcome back. So I finally got one of these that I've been after for a long time. There's a couple different clones out there of what I'm about to show you. This is the one that just happened to come up in inventory at my local place. I can't put a link to them or give them a exact shout out because of the rules of the internet, but it's a gun store in Gainesville, Georgia. And if you Google those words, you'll figure it out. You'll find out who it is. It's Georgia Gun Store in Gainesville. So I happened to see an email come across my inbox, you know, their new inventory, and I saw it and I just immediately emailed back. I was like, Mike, hold it for me. I want this one. So what is it? Well, before we get into this particular model, you know, I've got a lot of different stuff. And some of the ones that I'm really kind of wanting in my collection as keepers and stuff are going to be some of the more iconic, but also military issues. So here we've got the new SIG P320 M17. This is the official sidearm for the Army. And then there's the M18, which is basically the same gun with a shorter barrel. That replaced the M9, which brings us to another one of the iconic military sidearms. So this is made by Girsan, same company that makes the new one I haven't opened yet. And this is, they call it a Regard MC. So Girsan is a Turkish company, Turkish arms manufacturer. They've got every certification, ISO, all that kind of stuff. They are also authorized by NATO as an arms supplier, so they meet all the NATO manufacturing specs and all that stuff. So they actually bought Beretta tooling and licensed from Beretta to manufacture a copy of the M9. So it's not a clone and that somebody ripped them off. It's just a different company imported by European American Arms out of Cocoa, Florida, but it's made by Girsan in a Turkish state-of-the-art factory on Beretta tooling and machines under Beretta licensing. So that is the M9. Buttery smooth, out of the box. Beautiful, beautiful trigger. Really nice Cerakote. This is an amazing weapon. So I've got one of those. So this replaced this, which in turn replaced this. So here we've got the this one made by Springfield Armory, but this is the M1911A1. So this served from World War I all the way up till I think it was around Vietnamish era. It was in the 70s, I think, that they switched over to the Beretta M9, and then more recently, I think in the last 3 or 4 years, switched over to the M18. So these are like the three most iconic, common, you know, when you think about, you know, military pistols, you can't have that conversation without including these. So what are we looking at now? Well, another one that wasn't used by ours, but it was used and is still used by militaries around the world. You may have already guessed what that may be from that hint. The second hint, it was also the brainchild of John Moses Browning. If that didn't give it away, you know what this is. This is a Girsan copy of the iconic Browning Hipower. So, let's wipe the adhesive off, any excess Earl. So what do we have is a plain, no frills, licensed copy of the Browning Hipower. You know, these things were hard to get, you know, and when you got an actual Browning, you're going to spend $900 or $1,000 or so. Springfield has recently tried to bring them back at a $650 price point. Good luck finding one. So I may get one of those at one day. I mean, I've got multiple 1911s, so why not have multiple Hipowers? But this one is made by Girsan, and this one I pay $463 out the door with taxes. So it's about half the price of the actual Browning. It's also well, 50% less, or damn near 50% less, 40% less than the, well, no, I guess it would be 30%. 30% less. It's two-thirds of the price of the Springfield that you can't really seem to find. So it has dovetailed sights in the back. I can't tell if those are metal or plastic. They actually feel aluminum. You've got a sight on the front that is going to be dovetailed in as well. So if you wanted to change out the sights, you can. Now, I'm not as familiar with the Hipower, so I don't know. I noticed that this one does have a magazine disconnect safety. So I will probably open that up and, you know, look online and see what the procedure is. If that is standard on the Brownings, on the originals. If not, we'll be disabling that. Some people see it as a kind of a, I guess, technically a safety feature. And that if, you know, the bad guy is about to grab your gun from you, you can just, boop, drop the magazine. And even if there's a round chambered, you can't fire it. Safety on or off. Doesn't make a difference. So I'll look into that. Man, it's got a lot of oil in there. At least I don't have to take it apart and lubricate it, although I will probably take it apart just to check it out. But anyway, that is the Browning. So just comes out, you know, it came with a cleaning brush, which actually uses brass or bronze instead of plastic, which is good because that does a much better job of getting leading and grit and stuff like that out of the rifling. The trigger pull on it, we'll go over that just in a minute. Size-wise, it's, you know, you can see some similarities. It's just a little bit. So from what I understand of the Hipower was you had your 8-shot +1 1911 in a bigger, fatter 45 caliber. But a lot of people were like, hey, you know, 9mm is a NATO caliber. It's common. It's powerful enough. You know, can we get a double stack version of a gun that's about the same size as the 1911, maybe a tiny bit smaller, but we want to basically double the capacity and carry 9mm instead. A little softer recoiling, quicker follow-up shots. And so that was what Browning came up with. So it's 15+1 instead of 8+1, so almost double the rounds. This is also the gun that the CZ75, which is very, very famous and very, very good, was modeled after. They borrowed a lot of the designs from that. So this model is called the MC P35. Let's go over the trigger pull real quick. Going to have to put in a magazine to do that, but it is an empty magazine. It's fresh out of the box. We just did clearing it several times. So on this, you have... Okay, so again, I'm learning about the Browning Hipower. So this one, unlike the M9, which has no magazine, nothing in the chamber. Actually, I could have just dropped it because it's got a hammer drop. So here you've got single action and double action. So single action, cock it, and then the trigger does one single thing. It releases the hammer. It also has a double action, where it cocks the hammer and then releases it. That's what double action is. Same thing on a revolver. The SIG P320 M18, no magazine, nothing in the chamber. That is single action only, as are a lot of striker fires, not all of them. And that is the same case here. The trigger doesn't do anything other than, magazine's over there somewhere, nothing in the chamber. Single action, nothing. So this does follow, like, at least two of those pistols, the M18 and the 1911, and then that trigger doesn't do squat. So this is a gun that you can either cock it when you need to, and so as you draw the pistol, you can cock it, and you can also carry it cocked and locked, like you see here, which is similar to the 1911, which again was a Browning design. So I know we've already checked it, but I'm checking it again just because I'm kind of a safety Nazi with that stuff. The trigger pull, it's not great. It's not awful. A little bit of grittiness there. You can kind of see that. A lot of these things need to smooth out over time as you break them in. But once you get to that part, it's not awful. It's a workable trigger. I don't have any reference to compare it to. I mean, I can compare it to these other guns, and I'll say that out of the 4 guns I've got up here on the table, the M18, the M9A1, and the 1911A1, it has the worst trigger out of all of them. But I don't know what a normal Browning high-power trigger or clone trigger should feel like. Takedown on this, I'm assuming, is going to be like everything else. Lock the slide back, drop your magazine, make sure that there's nothing in there. It's completely empty. And then we're going to pop that out, which probably should have held that. But it comes apart very similar to a CZ75. Hammer's still back. You don't have to pull the trigger. Just pop it off. Just wipe up some of that oil. Spring comes out. It is not captive. This is... There we go. So, pretty standard. Very similar to the CZ75. No real surprises there. Drop it back in. Lock it in place. This is keyed. And that goes into that groove. So when you put it back, it actually kind of looks like it's going to hold it very secure. It locks into that channel there, so you don't have to worry about it flying across the room and taking out your computer monitor. Want some oil on there, but I don't want it dripping like that. And we're going to throw that back on. So what does one have to do? Oh, there we go. Does that have to go all the way back? No, I guess you just put it back in like this. And then it's got to go like that. So that's now up, down, again, unloaded. So something's been put back in place. So, well, you know what? This is going to be a learning experience because, again, I've never had one of these guns before. So right now, it's not... Oh, the magazine. Here I am thinking I did something wrong. Empty magazine, no bullets. Yep. Okay, so that takes down pretty much kind of like a 1911, except you don't have to worry about the bushing on the end. It takes down very similar to the CZ75, which, again, the CZ75 is very influenced by this. It's their own design. They changed some things. But when you look at a CZ75, which will probably be my next acquisition, I've had a couple over the years. I need to get another one. Problem is, man, they shot up in price. But there are some really good clones from, not Girsan, but I think another company just like them, Canik TriStar. So, it's a Metgar magazine. It's not quite drop-free, though. I don't know if that'll wear in over time. Pretty much everything else I have, the mags just go boom and shoot out. That could be a matter of that. No, that spring's pretty tough. So again, I don't have any reference to compare it to. So you may be looking at me, if you're an aficionado and know a lot about the Browning high power, you're like, who's this Muppet? Doesn't know anything about it. All I knew was that it's cool and I wanted to have one. So I'm going to get it to the range. One of these days, I got a bunch of guns to get to the range, and we'll do some little vignettes, some little videos of each of these guns. In action. I got to go order some mags. They didn't have any magazines in stock for the high power, but those should be fairly easy to get to. It feels good in the hand. I will say the ergonomics, the pointability, the plastic grips. I don't know if I'm going to change the grips. I mean, it's just a plain black plastic, single screw on each side. Fills the hand nice without being overfilling. That groove right there, I mean, it gives you a perfect thumb shelf. Doesn't put your hand, you know, sometimes your thumb ends up resting on the magazine catch, the release. And so, you know, sometimes in a recoil, you accidentally push that. I don't think that'll happen. If anything, I have to kind of reach my thumb over. I think for someone with smaller hands, they might struggle to hit that button with that hump there. They'd have to change their grip and push it that way. I do have long thumbs, so I can just barely get to that. I don't know if different grips would change that. I'm going to look and see if there are some, you know, G10 cool grips that go on that don't look, you know, too gimmicky. But the weight's nice. It's fairly, I mean, I was expecting it to be a little bit heavier. It's not a lightweight gun, but it's certainly less than my my 1911. So I know that you can get those with aluminum frames. Weight-wise, it feels like it's maybe an ounce or two more than the M18. By the way, this is not the standard M18 grip. This is the Wilson Combat grip that I did install to that, just to give me a little bit better ergos, and my hand fits that a little better. A little slimmer, doesn't print as much if you do carry a full-size gun. But that is the Girsan. Just comes with a single mag. Kind of wish it came with more. I mean, there's obviously cutouts here, but I don't know. You got your user's manual. It tells you, you know, don't shoot your eye out and all that stuff, how to take it apart and everything like that. I'm going to research the magazine disconnect and see if that's something I wish to keep. You got a nice cable lock that it came with. Anything else? It's kind of glued in there, so that's not going anywhere. It's not a bad carry case. Guess I don't need that. Is that actually glued? Because I put my paperwork under there. Receipt in case anything ever comes up. But, you know, it's a nice locking case. Does it have a lock? Yeah. So, you know, you could put a lock here and here. Maybe you could even run the cable through it. Actually, that would be nice. I mean, that would be kind of handy if you ran that cable up and around and just locked the whole thing from both sides. You know, I don't know how many people lock them up, but some people, if you want to, you got kids, it's nice that they include that. And I really do appreciate a good cleaning brush. So many of them come with the plastic ones, and they're good for wiping off like dirt, but you're not getting the stuff out of the rifling, out of the grooves. And so having a metal bristle brush, what's it cost them? An extra $1 to make it out of this instead of plastic? But it's a nice touch that they do that, because Glock and most other companies don't do that. So I actually really appreciate that. So there you have it. That is the Girsan. It, I think, you know, when you stack it up here against these other, you know, iconic military pistols from history or from current, as that one is, I think it looks right at home. I think everybody should have something like that in their collection. You should always have a 1911. I've got two. Actually, I'll bring that one up. Hold on one second. So I've got another one. This one, no magazine, cleared. This one is made by Taurus. And so made in Bainbridge, Georgia. Novak style sights. You can loosen that and then drift that left and right. You can replace the front sight as well. Just a black matte coating. Put the VZ grips on that one as well. This is one that I bought. Don't know that I've shot this one. God, I got a lot of guns I haven't shot yet. Trigger on it, excellent. Really, really nice trigger. As good as the Springfield. Springfield might be, if this is a 9 out of 10, this would be a 10 out of 10. Or whatever this is just one better. Just a tiny bit crisper. But they're both excellent triggers. Both have Novak style sights. This one, I guess, is probably... This one's dovetailed in. I guess that one would be pinned in. That's really the main difference between those. They both have the extended beaver tail, extended grip safety. They both have... Yeah, pretty much everything is the same. So this one's ambi, this one's not. So that may be the one difference. So anyway, everybody needs a 1911 in their collection. It's a nice shooting gun. It's very accurate. The 45 is a great, powerful round. You give up capacity, but it's a big old honking chunk of lead. So hard to argue with that from a self-defense perspective. But a lot of, you know, back then they were like, we'd rather give up a little bit of that big bullet and go to something a little bit smaller if it means we can have lots more of them. I mean, you look at the difference between the 45 and the 9. But energy-wise, I mean, this makes a bigger hole, but this is smaller and faster. This is bigger and slower. At the end of the day, they're depositing roughly the same energy. This will technically make a bigger hole, so theoretically, they could bleed out faster. This one, though, you got twice as many rounds. There's 18 rounds in that one. I got 21 rounders or 22 rounders for that thing. So in a gun that's roughly the same size, 8 rounds, 18. I'd have to reload once and then go onto a third mag to have as much as this one. Well, no, the same here. Yeah, because if I ran out of 8, if I shot 8 of these, I have 10 left. I use up another mag of 8. I'd still have 2 left. Yeah. So I would have to have 2 1/4 mags of 45, which means the mag swaps in between and all that stuff, versus just carrying, you know, one mag of 9mm. And that's what they were going for here. You know, they liked this, but they were like, can you give us something in 9mm, you know, which was popular with the Ruger, and I think like the Walther P38 was a 9mm. You know, those were guns that the Germans had, and it, you know, was a decent round. And when NATO adopted it, they were like, hey, let's, well, I guess NATO wouldn't have come until later, but a lot of companies were using, countries were using that. So again, there's probably someone watching this just going, ugh, because I don't know all the history on this. It's okay. I'm more familiar with these other ones. This is just one that I was like, you know what? I've never had it. I've always wanted one. And so I got it. I'm probably going to go get a Springfield at some point, maybe one in stainless. But I'm definitely digging this. So I got to do a range. I got to do a range day soon. I'll try to remember to do that. But if you got any thoughts, questions, you want to school me and educate me a little bit on the Browning Hipower, I'm open to it. Go ahead, criticize me. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me what I need to do. Let me know about the magazine disconnect safety. I'm all for learning about this. It's a piece of history. I should know it, and I'm determined that I will. So if you want to be part of that process and school me, tell me that I'm a Muppet, go for it. Anyway, we'll talk to everybody soon.